Have you ever felt like you're constantly chasing the next big thing, but no matter how hard you push, you never really feel at peace? What if I told you that the answer to that restless feeling might be as simple as stepping outside and reconnecting with nature? Sounds almost too easy, right? But trust me, there's more to it than meets the eye. Why do we feel so disconnected in a world that's more connected than ever? And how can something as simple as being in nature, or even walking along a trail, help us regain balance in our hectic lives? The truth is, our constant need for achievement and validation is rooted in outdated survival instincts. But when we slow down, when we learn to appreciate the journey itself, not just the destination, we start to unlock a sense of peace and fulfillment that's been missing. Let's explore how this shift can transform your life. Hey everyone! So, in today's video, we're going to take a deep dive into something we all struggle with at some point. Letting go of our inflated sense of self-importance. Now, that might sound a bit heavy, but stick with me. It's actually super liberating once you get it. We're talking both practical stuff and some big picture theory. And don't worry, I've got some hard facts to back it up. It's wild when you really think about it. We spend so much time thinking we're the center of the universe, but surprise, we're actually just a tiny, tiny speck in the grand scheme of things. Pretty humbling, right? One of the core issues at the root of so many of the world's problems, whether it's wars, conflicts, or even personal health problems like diabetes or stress, is tied to this bloated sense of self. In Buddhism, we call this ego or self-clinging, and it's basically this constant need to protect and feed the idea of me, myself, and I. And guess what? It's not doing us any favors. These deeply ingrained survival instincts shape so much of how we move through life, most of the time without even realizing it. Now, I get asked this question a lot, like, why do I have all these overwhelming thoughts, or why am I acting on impulses that don't serve me? Whether it's overly sexualized thoughts or just random impulses, it often ties back to the spotlight effect. You know, when you think everyone's watching and judging your every move. In Buddhism, this is kind of like being trapped in samsara, the endless cycle of suffering, because you're stuck in the illusion of separateness, thinking you're more important than the interconnected whole. And when you're in that space, your sympathetic nervous system is firing on all cylinders. You're in survival mode 24/7, always in fight or flight, like the whole world's a threat. It's exhausting, and you can't even relax enough to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, the one that helps you rest, heal, and just be. That's where the real magic happens, though. When you're able to chill, engage with the world from a place of peace, your body heals and your mind clears. But here's the thing. Modern life? It's pulling us away from that calm state. We're chasing dopamine hits like it's the answer to everything. Constantly looking for the next fix, whether it's through food, relationships, or endless scrolling. And that, my friends, is a big ol' ego trap. Buddhism teaches us to recognize this constant craving, this tanha or thirst that keeps us stuck. We lose touch with nature, with the world, and most importantly, with reality. It's funny, or maybe a little sad, but we forget how small we are in the big picture. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you really felt connected to something bigger? Sometimes just standing next to an ancient tree or gazing at the stars can remind you how insignificant we are compared to the universe. And let me tell you, that's not a bad thing. It's freeing. Realizing how small we are actually lifts this enormous weight off our shoulders. In Buddhism, that's kind of the point. We're encouraged to let go of the self and flow with the universe. It's why reconnecting with nature can feel so healing. It reminds us of the interconnectedness of all things, interbeing, as Thich Nhat Hanh would put it. And another thing, humans often get totally caught up in our own timeline, right? We forget how vast time really is. I mean, stand in front of a rock formation that's a few million years old, and try to tell me we're not just a blink in the grand history of the universe. Even if you live to be 100, in the grand scheme, that's like the last minute of December 31st on the cosmic calendar. Kind of puts things in perspective, don't you think? When we understand our place in the universe, we can let go of the so-called spotlight effect. It's a relief, really. Instead of living like the world's watching your every move, you can just be. That's what Buddhism is all about. Realizing the self is an illusion, embracing impermanence, and finding peace in that understanding. So stick around because I'm going to show you how all of this plays out in real time. Let's get into it. We've been talking a lot about survival mode lately, how we're constantly driven by the need to succeed, to achieve, to feel validated by others. And man, it's exhausting, isn't it? Especially when you realize this isn't just a personal thing, it's a collective issue. A lot of it comes from this disconnection, especially with the elites, the ones hoarding resources and focusing on domination rather than cooperation. They've lost touch with something fundamental: nature. Honestly, one of our basic human rights is just being able to exist in nature, to experience it. Something as small as feeling mosquitoes bite you on a hike reminds you that, yep, you're part of this wild, interconnected system. Speaking of hiking, it's such a simple yet profound way to reconnect. It's not just about getting to the end point, whether it's some epic waterfall or scenic viewpoint. Every step along the trail is valuable in itself. That's kind of the essence of Buddhism, right? The journey is the destination. We're so caught up in goals, in getting somewhere, that we forget to just be where we are. Every step, every breath, every little plant along the way, it all matters. When we start noticing these things, we realize that we don't need to feel like we're so important or special. There's peace in just being small, being part of something much bigger than ourselves. And this isn't just some spiritual fluff. There's science to back it up. If you talk to a neuroendocrinologist, they'll tell you dopamine isn't just about chasing pleasure. It's about finding joy in the process. When we shift our mindset to appreciate the journey, not just the end goal, we become healthier, happier, more grounded. It's like this go mentality, where the satisfaction comes from the effort itself, not just the result. When we do that, we align ourselves with the flow of life instead of constantly pushing against it. And that's the essence of cooperation, with ourselves and the world. A lot of the problems we see today, wars, disease, greed, even stuff like obesity, come from these ancient survival instincts that just don't serve us anymore. It's like we're stuck in this loop of wanting more, needing more, craving more. But here's the thing, reconnecting with nature helps us break out of that loop. When you stand by a waterfall, surrounded by the power of the natural world, it's not about snapping a pic for Instagram and moving on. It's about being present, right there in that moment. Feeling the spray on your face, listening to the roar of the water, and just being. This whole idea that the journey is the destination really captures that spirit. People always ask, are we there yet? And I'm like, you've already arrived. The second you take that first step on the trail, you're at your destination. Every breath you take, every little observation along the way, it's all part of the journey. And yeah, plunging into cold water might boost your dopamine and make you feel good, but there's something way deeper happening. You're connecting with your environment in ways that science is only just starting to understand. Like, did you know that when you're out in nature, especially around trees and plants, you're breathing in these natural oils they release? It's called phytoncides, and they actually affect your body in subtle but powerful ways. You don't need to know all the science to get the benefits, though. Just being in nature, letting it work its magic, calms down your parasympathetic nervous system. And in this world, where we're always in fight or flight mode, that's the kind of peace we need. It's healing in the most natural way possible. So next time you're out on a hike, don't rush to the finish line. Take your time, breathe in the air, feel the ground under your feet, and remember, you've already arrived. We talk a lot about finding balance and peace, but one of the easiest ways to do that? Just get outside. Spend time in nature. Take waterfalls, for example. These aren't just pretty to look at. They're doing some wild stuff behind the scenes. Ever heard of the Leonard effect? When water crashes over rocks, it releases ions from the minerals in the stone. Those ions actually purify the air, making it richer in minerals, which benefits our respiratory system. Yeah, science. What's cool is that each waterfall is kind of like its own little wellness spa. Depending on the rocks it flows over, the mineral mix changes, which can even affect the color and texture of the water. See that greenish tint? That's from specific minerals in the rocks here. And honestly, we don't need to understand every single thing that's happening to benefit from it. Just soak it all in, literally, and let nature work its magic. A lot of people tell me, I can't meditate, it's just not for me. But here's the thing, even the simple act of noticing your thoughts, that's meditation. It's not about flipping a switch and suddenly having a quiet mind. Trust me, that takes time. It's more about just being aware, bit by bit. In Buddhism, we talk about mindfulness as a practice, not a perfection. And in neuroscience, there's this concept called limbic friction. Basically, your brain and body working together to gradually decrease anxiety over time. It's like your brain is slowly telling your limbic system, which handles your emotions, that it's time to calm down and adapt. And what's cool is that this process is reinforced while we sleep, where our memories and experiences are solidified. So whether you're trying to tackle anxiety or learn a new skill, your body is constantly adapting in the background. That's why getting into nature and practicing mindfulness is such a game changer. When we immerse ourselves in these peaceful settings, we tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of us that relaxes, heals, and restores. In this modern world, we're constantly overstimulated. I mean, between traffic, deadlines, and the endless buzz of technology, it's like we're always stuck in fight-or-flight mode. But out here, surrounded by waterfalls, fresh air, and the sounds of nature, our bodies can finally breathe. And it's not just about the cold water, though that's pretty refreshing too. It's the ions, the minerals, the pure oxygen we're breathing. Nature just has this way of bringing us back to balance, even if we don't fully understand the science behind it. We don't need to. We can simply trust it and let it do its thing. Here's the ironic part though. For as short a time as we've been here, humans have done some serious damage to the planet and to each other. Why can't we live in harmony with the world around us? It's a big question, and yeah, it might sound like a cliche, but it's one worth asking again and again. We're stuck in these outdated survival patterns, always chasing the next thing, the next goal, the next hit of validation. But when we allow ourselves to deeply relax, to really enter that parasympathetic state, we become healthier, calmer, and more in tune with the world. Take something like erectile dysfunction. Often, it's linked to stress and an inability to relax. Our bodies need this downtime, this space to unwind, and yet we rarely give it to ourselves. So here's my invitation to you. Take a moment to reflect on all this. Spend some time in nature, whether it's by a waterfall, a forest, or even just your backyard. Slow down. Breathe. Don't rush toward some future destination. Remember that every step along the way is part of the journey. Not only will this help your mind and body, but it also aligns you with a more peaceful, harmonious way of living. And honestly, isn't that what we're all searching for in the end? So we've reached the end of our journey today. If you've made it this far, I just want to say a huge thank you. It means that this message about slowing down, reconnecting with nature, and finding value in the present resonated with you. Remember, it's not just about reaching the destination, but about every step we take, every mindful breath, and those moments where we allow ourselves to simply be. If this message spoke to you, why not share it with someone who could use a reminder to slow down too? You never know. This video might be just what they need to hear. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps get these ideas out there and ensures you won't miss out on the next videos. Who knows? Maybe next time we'll dive even deeper into this balance between the mind, body, and the natural world around us. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.